All right, and we are live, and we're going to be talking about how you can optimize for search in the new age of Amazon, because what was new is now old and outdated. So, super excited to bring on John Tilley here from Zon Guru. So, John, thank you for joining us here on this PPC AMA, which we're going to talk about all kinds of fun stuff, though.
Oh, man. What's up, Kevin? Good to see you.
Good to see you too as well, John. So John, you are the co-founder of Zon Guru, which has a suite of tools, and you and I have gotten to know each other the last few years, and you've got a lot of insight into what works on Amazon. So I'm excited for this conversation.
Hopefully.
There you go. Just being humble there.
Yeah, man. I'm sitting in Los Angeles right now, and it is hot. September. But it is hot right now. So
yes, yeah, it's definitely warm here in Florida on the opposite coast as well. It's nice and muggy.
Good.
So yes, but anyway, so enough talking about the weather. So depending on where you're at, folks, just a couple things as a reminder. Just about every time we do this, we run out of time. So I like to be respectful of my guests' time. So we're going to cut this off at the top of the following hour. So it's 12:01 noon Eastern time, or 9:01 Pacific, or wherever you are located watching this, if you're watching live, folks. So what's going to happen is at the top of the hour, we're going to cut it off. And so this operates just like class in college or high school or wherever, where the teacher or the professor says, does anyone have any questions? And everyone just stares at each other at the beginning. No one has any questions. And at the end, it's like barrage of questions. So if you want your question answered, the best way to get that answered is to ask it earlier on. And we will also be rewarding participation from time to time. So I know we sometimes beat up the world for having participation trophies, although I reward participation here on these live streams. So, and you never know when I might be rewarding participation, which I am 100% within my right to do it whenever I feel like it. So with awesome. That, let's just make sure, folks, can you hear us? If you don't mind clicking the little thumbs up icon, or just stating in the chat, yes, Kevin, I can hear you. You don't have to be paranoid about that. Because, John, is it fair to say that technology is great until it doesn't work?
Ask Steve Ballmer. Like there was a new stadium for the Clippers, which is all just Internet of Things, no lines, no cards, no cash given. You just get in there and the whole idea was just to get you in and out of your seats. And when you're going to the concessions line or whatever, and on the opening night, the internet went down and nothing worked. Lines of people, just complete sabotage. So internet's great when it works, but when it doesn't, we're kind of screwed.
Yeah, exactly. And so for all of us who are have a business based on the internet is very important. And part of the internet is figuring out what works, because what worked, some things are kind of somewhat foundational. You have a product and people need to see it in order to buy it, but then how you get them to see it, how do you position it to them? A lot is changing. Is that kind of a fair way to phrase it?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I think everyone here, whether it's on Amazon or just in your daily life, AI is making massive strides and massive changes. And it can actually be somewhat scary
Yeah.
when you see what's happening. But I think the I've been around long enough in e-commerce, but in digital world for enough time that at the end of the day, each of these kind of big events that happen in our lifetime, whether it's social media, whether it's AI, whatever it is, the traditional strategy of what marketing is doesn't change, right? It's just you have better tools or better ways of doing it. And I think the best entrepreneurs are those that understand that this is not a quick fix in doing something. It's a tool to make things, to use things in a better way, and not to be distracted from the core essence of what you're trying to do, right? And that's the trick, is like, it's shiny object syndrome. There's all these things and you're like, hey, I could just jump on and great, this is going to be a quick fix and it's going to give me a leapfrog. But at the end of the day, that can be a distraction, or at best maybe a bump that doesn't last in whatever it is. So that's the big thing about understanding, hey, it's another level of tools, but the essence of strategy, marketing, product, whatever it is, doesn't change, right?
Yeah, exactly. The essence and the strategy doesn't change, but some of the tactics are going to change along the way. So I was just, as you were talking, I was pulling up on my phone, the Amazon app, and people may have noticed, at least here in the US, it's now you have this color icon here in the bottom right-hand corner, if I remember which hand is which. But basically that's a new feature, because it used to not be. It was all like, monochrome icons. Now there's a color icon. What is this color icon for folks who haven't played with it?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. That's Rufus. So that's Amazon's AI shopping assistant. So it's called Rufus, and it's a little corgi animation style dog. But
they love their dogs.
Yeah, and I think the backstory there from an Amazon perspective is, when they had a policy about like, hey, you could bring dogs to work, there's something around the lines of like, any dog you brought to work, you had to call Rufus. And so that's what's stuck around and why they've called it the Rufus shopping assistant. So there's some fun backstory there. But, at the end of the day, the world has changed in terms of how we research as consumers, right? We see it in our daily life. ChatGPT has come around in end of 2022. How you research, there was clearly a massive drop in how you would search on Google, because the results were just getting lost in the mire of AI, and they've evolved that further. But if you speak to any particularly young kid today, how do you research for things? You're bringing up ChatGPT, you're engaging with it, you're asking questions, and you're getting recommended answers. And so Amazon has jumped onto that by building its own AI shopping assistant, which ultimately the vision of that is, hey, how do we change the shopping experience so us as a consumer can ask a question of the AI assistant and then have a two-way engaging conversation around what my needs are, and then some recommendations, and then obviously convert. And that clearly is a big transition from how the current shopping experience is, which is, hey, I'm going to search for a keyword and I'm going to get some search results and a result there. So there's been a massive change in terms of the AI integration, and we've done a lot of work on our side to understand what it's looking for and how to optimize for it, which we can get into. But at a high level, that is a big change that's happened, and you can speak to anyone here, and I'm sure everyone will have opinions, but in some ways, Rufus is a great experience right now. In a lot of ways, it's a bad experience in the typical Amazon way, right? Amazon, anyone, they launch stuff and you're like, okay, well, cool. That first of all, that's not a great PPC experience, and second of all, that was done by Google 10 years ago. Like, that's typical how they are. But they've seen where the consumer trend is. They've launched this, and that's the way forward. It's only going to get better and better. So with new things as entrepreneurs, let's understand what it is, know that Amazon's going all in on that, and how do we optimize for that so we can get more visibility and conversions.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And like just last night, kind of like you were saying, of like the younger generation is like, they're not even Googling stuff. They're like using AI. And I say this, and I grew up and there was no such thing as an internet. I guess it was around, but nobody had it. Like, unless you're like in the military or something. But basically, my son last night borrowed my phone, and he was having this long conversation with ChatGPT. So it was like, the conversational version of it. And, every time he'd say something, ChatGPT would ask him something in return. And so, granted, that's more elaborate than I think Rufus is at this point, but it's looking for contextual clues. If you kind of understand how these things work, whether it's ChatGPT, Rufus, or whatever, can you kind of explain, like, is there, a brain that's doing all this? Like, how does the background of these AIs work?
Yeah, I can talk about that. And first, also, I know that there is a PPC focus here. I want to seed the idea around, like, hey, right now it's organic content that you're having a conversation with Rufus on, but they've already announced, I think a couple of days ago, that they're going to be starting to add sponsored ad placement within that, right? So they're going to clearly monetize it.
Of course.
And that's a whole nother conversation around, like, what ChatGPT is right now, and how they're going to monetize that at some point. And obviously Amazon's going to think about that. But let's start with the first piece, which is, how is Rufus different from what we're seeing with the algorithm A9, Cosmo, etc. And we've done clearly a lot of testing there, and we now are Rufus optimized in terms of content creation using our AI. And so we've clearly done, a hell of a lot of testing in the background. And ultimately what it boils down to is Rufus is looking, outside of your typical optimization around keywords and what customers are searching for to find a product, a needs-based product. It's now starting to evolve to more of the research side of it, right? So you're going to see customer behavior already starting to change on Amazon, where you might be researching a specific search intent, a behavior, a benefit that you're looking for, and you're looking for Amazon to come at you and say, hey, here's some ideas, right? So it's the opposite. It's not like, hey, I'm coming to Amazon saying, give me this.
Right.
I'm going to put it in. It's like, hey, I'm thinking about, this kind of experience. What do you recommend? What do you think? Give me some ideas. And the whole goal there from an Amazon perspective, thinking about money, is how do we surface specific products that maybe clients or customers might not even be thinking about yet, or have in their consideration set. We can surface, they might buy it, and then obviously, they're making more and more money on the back end. So, so what do I mean by that? Like, here's a great use case example. I might go onto Amazon and go, hey, Rufus, this is further down the road, but the vision is there, right? Hey, Rufus, I'm having trouble sleeping at night. What products do you recommend to help me with that? Right? I don't know the answers to that, coming in straight up, but Rufus might give me some pretty cool answers there that might send me down a path to buy something. So, noise, sound machines, blackout curtains, air conditioning that can drop the temperature. I don't know, I'm just making this up, right? But those are the kind of things. It was like, now I can start to surface those products, and then help me to convert or bring that into my consideration sets. Or in addition to that, it might just be like, hey, I really am interested in blackout curtains, but I want to know what are the really important key features I should be looking at when I'm assessing what it is. So it's giving me that in real time and helping me filter through all of the various types of benefits that are being touted and focusing on what actually really matters, right? So these are the ways that Rufus is changing. And so from an algorithmic perspective, looking at the types of search intent, buyer behaviors that are out there, the massive amount of use cases, and then putting that as an input so that it understands at a high level, hey, what, based on these types of behaviors, what are the things that we can recommend, rather than based on this specific keyword, right? And that's the big difference there. The last point I'll say on that is, like, there's massive correlations between ChatGPT and Rufus, right? How you prompt ChatGPT, the answers you get is very similar in what you're getting, from Rufus, which is kind of part of our secret sources. Clearly, we don't have access to Rufus specifically, but we have access to ChatGPT, and we can see the big correlations there.
Yeah, and one of the things I will say is, when ChatGPT first came out, you guys were one of the first companies I saw kind of embracing it, like, very quickly, saying, hey, we've added this into our suite of tools, where you can adopt it. So you've gotten to see quite a bit. So do you mind maybe sharing with folks kind of what you're seeing with Rufus that works? And then we'll get into some questions for folks, because I know people are starting to drop them into the the Q&A. So folks, if you have questions, drop them into the Q&A. It can be related to AI or whatever. As long as it's Amazon related, John and I will do our best to answer your question. But with that, did you want to share your screen, John?
Oh yeah, I can share a screen real quick. Yeah, I mean on the ChatGPT AI side, we were actually the first in our industry to integrate ChatGPT into listing optimization. I think the word of AI was coming out in November of 2022.
Yeah,
and I knew that this was going to be a key event changing consumer behavior. And so we had a pretty interesting December last year where we were just like, hey, let's get this done and get it out. So let me just, I guess I can just, in under a minute, I'll just show you kind of how this works, right? So yeah, if this is helpful, I will do it. Let's go.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Okay, let me show you. Can you see my screen?
Is it ready?
Yes, I should be sharing it. Can you see it?
There we go. Yes.
Okay, actually, this is just a real-time Rufus right here. So this is actually just my phone. So I'm just basically bringing up Amazon and I'm going, hey, I typed in, and I think I misspelled or something, but I typed in, hey, what are the best benefits of an Instapot? And it started to bring those answers: time saving, energy efficient, convenience. It sums up like what are the most important benefits. And then, we talk a little bit more about it. And then like, hey, can you recommend some? And then it recommended some, right? You can see it here. And let's see, started to recommend a few. So this is all happening in my engaging conversation with Amazon's Rufus Assistant before I've even got to an actual PDP, right? So it's a completely different experience. And in terms of like how, this is kind of the result, right? So you can see what are the criteria looking for when I talk about capacity, cooking functions, safety features, etc. And you can just go into Zonguru. I can actually just create like a session. I'll just show you. Let's go over here. If I've got a minute, I'll just show you guys.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this is Instapot, right? So you typically run a keyword session. You guys can look at this yourself, but we are very good at returning the most relevant current keywords for a marketplace. You can see obviously Prime is in here. He has all the keywords, right? With a whole bunch of data that you can filter by, but it's filtered already. So you're getting very relevant keywords. You can filter by relevant, non-branded. He has your set 198 keywords. Save this view, right? What's interesting is we can go over to the SEO side and you can see all the strength of your competitors. So this is all based on a competitor strength score that we base on keyword intelligence, Rufus, A9, etc. But you get a score against this. And you can also see a keyword view against the keywords. Like, hey, he has all the keywords and he has all the competitors and how strong they are for every single keyword, right? So if I pick out this guy who's not really that well ranked, it's a comfy, right? This guy. Let's pretend that's my listing. I can go over to Listing Optimizer. I can just name a session, Instapot. This will take a minute. Create session. I can import my keywords, right? Let's go over here and import. Let's go with these keywords right here. So adding all the keywords. Okay, so we added the keywords, create a session. Let's just go from Instapot. Search. What's great about this tool is we get the context. So you can add your top competitors. Let's just take the 2 top competitors. And let's scroll down. Where was that comfy? I think I saw him. I think it was this one. Let's just take this one now. Let's say that's our listing. I just add them. Let's add a blank listing. So let's just do Rufus AI. Okay, finish. So what it's doing right now is it's just pulling all the content, title, bullets, back in search terms, descriptions, everything, right? And you get a score. So you see this is the top two competitors. You see all of their content, right? And you get a score. Doesn't matter what the score is right now, but there's a lot of data that goes into that. But it's scoring it for how best it is matched for the algorithm, for Rufus, for everything else, right? And you can see this is the score 10,000. This guy gets 12,000, and this as our listing got a score of 8,000, right? So you can go ahead and you can optimize any sections of these using your manual updates. You can kind of see what keywords are being used, how to optimize for the keywords. You can do manual optimizations, but you can also use AI on any specific part of the listing or the total listing in total. I'll just go here and just generate, let's just call this one Tilly. Okay, let's say this is my new listing. Oh, sorry, wrong place. AI generates. You can add different settings. I'm just going to add in this. Sorry. Let's go over here. I'm just going to add a description. Okay. If I have it, let's see. Yeah, right here. So I'm just going to add a long tail product description. You can put in whatever you want and then add a name. You can negative match on keywords. You can use a tone, language, whatever you want, and you can just generate. And it's going to take 30 seconds, and you'll write a brand new listing. And most likely, it'll be better scored than any other listing on page one, and it's optimized for the type of content that Rufus is looking for. I don't know why this is slightly longer. Oh no, 200. That's good. We got a score. So you can see 10,000, 12, 8, 17,000. So it's much better optimized for the algorithm, for what's needed as a baseline, which you can optimize further. You can manually write and you can publish it to Amazon. And look at the type of content here. So you have your title, but bullets. It talks about multi-cooker, right? Which we knew it was looking for. It talks about efficiency, time saving. It talks about the capacity. It talks about the quality, stainless steel. And it talks about the essential accessories. So all the things that Rufus was coming back and recommending, you're now covered in your listing, written in the right way for the algorithm, for the keywords, how you match, across the different keywords, get the most use of the algorithm, and importantly, making sure you have the right kind of prompts in there as part of what Rufus is looking for. It's looking for prompts in your listings. It's clearly looking for, Q&A, reviews, and down the road is also going to be looking at your personal preferences in terms of the prompting. But again, this is going to help ensure that what it's looking for you have in your listings, and your visibility with it is going to be a lot higher.
Awesome. Now, John, what do you think Rufus is looking for, and how is that different than, say, how we already know PPC and search engine optimization today?
It's kind of what I mentioned earlier, which is it is looking for those. It's layering on this idea of what is important from a search intent perspective, behavior and need that I have. What are the various types of products that can match that use case, right? And there's thousands of use cases out there. So understanding what are the types of products that can match a specific need, like I don't sleep well, help me understand what products will help me sleep well, and then matching those various products to as a recommended list to that search intent is a way that certainly PPC typical search intent is based on like, hey, a needs based, like, hey, I want an Instapot. What are the keywords around that, and therefore surface those ads. This is another layer which is more organic, which is like, hey, I have an event, or I have a specific type of need. What are some products that go there? So it's a lot more longer tail. It's a lot more wide in terms of use cases, and a great layer that you can add on top of that very specific keyword search that you do, which is very optimized obviously for PPC and for organic today.
So would we want to layer in like the product description or the A+ content or something, putting in terms that would kind of be less on like, hey, this is an Instapot, or 2-pound Instapot, or whatever the sizes works out to be, but you know what I mean, like something like that, or more like helps you sleep at night, which an Instapot wouldn't help, but you know exactly. What I mean, like
yeah, I got you. So yes, exactly. So it's more of that longer term. You clearly your first step is you have to optimize for the keywords and for the
that's still the bread and butter.
That's the bread and butter. But the layer on top of that is like, hey, what are the types of use cases, behaviors, search intent, different use cases that can be available, and getting that content into your listing. Certainly in bullets, back in search terms is very important. And description, A+ content, and I'll just replace description with A+ content, right?
Sure.
The other crazy piece about that is we have an AI image analysis tool. It's internal at the moment. It's not we haven't put it into production yet, but we're basically, AI right now doesn't, gone are the days of HTML tags and, kind of gleaming some content from that. AI is now reading the images and the content that's in there, and that is absolutely feeding the algorithm and Rufus. So, what content you put into your images and that narrative you tell from images 2 through 7 plus your A plus content is absolutely critical. And so we do a lot of it and analysis against every single competitor. What is in your images? What's the important stuff? And we narrow it down to like, here's some great overlays that you should be putting in your images that AI can read. So that and A plus content, that image, the content you put in images is critical because it can read it now.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, totally crazy.
And
All right.
if you pixelate it, you don't do it well, it doesn't pick it up, right? So understanding how does it read, what is it actually seeing in the images, and how well is that done is really important.
Yeah, that is crazy. All right, so let's go ahead and get to some questions. Some of these questions pertain to Rufus. I'm sure we'll probably get some more Rufus related questions as we go. But the first question that came in from David G. Guerri, who is our first question. So David, email Kevin at myamazonguy.com if you hear this, and I will get you access to our PPC course for free, $100 value. So David asks, how do I print out a label? I'm selling a book. When I try to print label, it says error, no item submitted. Are you in the FBA screen and you click the little checkbox next to it, either manage all inventory or manage FBA inventory? Click that, and then they moved like where it is, but down low there should be like one selected, and then there's a little drop down. You should just be able to say print labels and then print it. So make sure it's
I can't
selected.
weigh in there. I mean, we obviously focus more on products outside of books, so it might be slightly different there. I'm just not 100% sure. Yeah,
but my very first, well, not my first products I sent, but when I dabbled in retail arbitrage a few years ago, I also dabbled in reselling books. So I've done it a few times. In fact, I think my first shipment included books. So, but that was a while ago. But I think the mechanics are still the same. So Ali asks, how are you doing? I'm doing well, thank you. I have one listing on Amazon and pet supplies, facing some problems to get strategy. Should I adopt to rank this? So this is...
I think one listing on Amazon.
So this one here, basically, they a pet supply. Unfortunately, I can't copy and paste.
I mean, I can jump in there and just give a high level.
Let's give your thoughts.
At a high level, you I don't know what the problems are there, but if you look at Amazon, right, number one, the thing is you've got to have an amazing product, and you've got to get the interest and the click from customers, right? So that's your number one thing. My Amazon guy is huge in talking about your number one image and what that looks like. But at a high level, you've got to have a great product. Number two, you've got to optimize the lifeblood of your storefront, which is your listings, right? So that is images, creative, your overlays, and your content. So you can do that in various ways. Obviously, with Zonguru, you can at least get that itch scratch, which is like, hey, how well is my current listing optimized for the algorithm, and how well are my best competitors optimized? Where are they strong, where are they weak? And you can answer that in literally a couple of minutes on Amazon. So testing that to be able to say, hey, have I got the best listing on page one? And if not, how do I improve it? And then what I do to improve it using AI, you can do that all in our tool. And there's other ways that you can do that. But that's going to be your starting point, because if you don't have those two things right, everything you layer on top of that will just suck, right? PPC is not going to perform at its best. Creative connections, if anyone isn't doing that, you should be. All of these things that you're doing, outside traffic, etc., on top of your business. If you don't have a great product or listing, you're not in a good spot. So that's where I'd we started the image. This is the interesting thing, right? Because you look at this and you're like, okay, cool, that's the perfect meal for dogs, but who's buying the product? It's humans. And so if they look at that and they're like, dude, that looks
you don't know what that is,
and not very appetizing, they're not just going to feed it to the dog. So I mean, bang off this, we can talk about your images. I think there's a lot of work to be done there. And I would say if you searched for whatever this his main keyword is, and look at the context of the competitors versus what he has, you're losing the click right there.
Yeah, exactly. Like I like that they have the 20 piece there. It's hard to know what this is. Like, is this sausage or whatever? And then, another thing to look at too is, okay, it's not there, but some of the other pictures have a watermark on them, which I think is unnecessary to have on there. In fact, it kind of looks like it was just taken off the internet or something when we use the watermark. And this image seems to be the same as this image, other than the 20 piece. And so there's a lot of images of just the product. So I would have like convenient packaging is good, additives free is good, but like the benefit of like, your dog will love it. And I would probably have like the outside of the packaging and show like the keyword in it of like, dog frozen mints. There has to be a better word. People aren't looking for dog frozen chicken mints. They're probably looking for, chicken flavored dog food or something like that. So
they're probably looking for natural, raw diet dog food,
exactly
like that, right? So if you search that real quick, let's just see. I mean, that's the biggest comparison you can make. Just search
raw chicken dog food.
Yeah, sure.
Let's do that. Yes. So these have a little bit more branding to it.
I mean, maybe fresh. Maybe you have to add that fresh because it's like
fresh.
Let's see.
Okay, but yeah. So anyway, if you're the customer and you see these, or you see what looks like sausages that you would see in the butcher aisle at the grocery store, or at least what kind of look like it, which would you click on? So always put yourself in the shoes of the customer. And like here, like this is a good example of, well, I guess that's actually something completely different, but you could use a design that looks like this, where it's like on it, you're putting like, a wrap around it, even if the wrap is photoshopped, and like you include like, a picture of a dog and like, chicken flavored dog's love with like a heart on it or something. Like you got to kind of tell the story that they quickly know what it is. Like look at this, the dog food on a plate and the puppy looks so, appetizing. And I guarantee whatever this is here on the box is not there when you get the box. So incorporate in it like a little bit more telling the story what they're getting. That would be my biggest advice. Any other thoughts, John?
I mean, the biggest thing is product packaging may vary, right? Mm-hmm. And understanding that you should be photoshopping your main images to ensure that you're helping to get the click and conveying the story, right? And I think there's a lot that can be done there for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
And one thing we always like to point out is like, this is .co.uk, so they're maybe not doing quite the same thing, but like people will worry about like, hey, am I allowed to use like a, like have a chicken in the background, or like, a flower or something, or a dog? Like people are going to think they're going to get a dog. They won't. Like this one here, I'm sure no one has complained to Colgate that they didn't have a mint leaf in their toothpaste. And this one here is sold by Amazon. So this is Amazon is in control of this listing. And you can look up almost any name brand and you will start seeing more and more stuff like this, where oftentimes like they do what we say, having a keyword, or in this case they don't necessarily have a keyword in there. But they do have, the spearmint there. And that's not something that you would expect to receive, but they're making it very clear that it's spearmint flavored. So anyway.
Yeah. And in terms of imagery, this is again, the tool of AI, right? AI is, it's not there and not there yet where you should necessarily be using that as your main product imagery. But in terms of brainstorming, and getting ideas, angles, things that you can do differently, ideas that you haven't thought of, it's amazing, right? And that creative exploration is what you need so that you can get some different, unique ideas in, and therefore, transpose that into your actual images in your listing, right? Which is critical. So using the tools that you have, AI, to give you better ideas, brainstorms, and then execute on that to look different to everyone else is a really cool way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So another question came in. Hey guys. Yes, we are doing great. Everyone's rooting for us to do well today. Appreciate that. Question: how many clicks and spend would you test keyword product targets if product price ranges $40 to $80?
I mean, from my perspective, it's you have to understand traffic, right, and how many clicks you're getting, your conversion percentage, your category conversion percent, and then have your baseline of like, there's a lot that has to go into that before you kind of come up with your number. I was saying like, hey, I'm willing to give it this many clicks without a conversion before I decide that I'm going to kill it or negative match on that, right? So, the high level.
Yeah, and another way to look at it too is like if you have a 20% conversion rate, that's 5 clicks that it would take to get a sale. 10% conversion rate, 10 clicks. If you have an 8% conversion rate, it's 12 and a half, but like call it 13. So, I would give it at least double the number of clicks that you think you should be getting. To John's point, like, what is the category conversion percentage? And you never really know. It's hard to know. I should say that. What your competitors are doing. But, at the end of the day, are you spending a lot of money on a keyword just because you think it's important because it's high volume, but maybe you're not ready for it because everybody that's, ranking high for that keyword, even with PPC, has got 3,000 reviews and you've got 2. Build up to that keyword and go after the long tail keywords.
Yeah. I guess just a note on that, but it's pretty interesting. I mean, obviously as Zonguru, right? Everyone who knows us, we have a lot of technology that sellers use. We have a lot of technology that agencies use. And then we've layered in a service layer as well, where we are, ultimately helping brands grow by adding in a service layer. So we're day-to-day managing brands, including PPC and campaigns. But the main reason we're doing that is we have a strong seller DNA, we have an agency DNA, and that just helps us to create better tech for everyone out there. But one of our USPs we have on the services side is like, hey, how do we grow your organic rank, right, with all the levers that are available to you on Amazon, and certainly having the ability to identify keywords that can be moved, and then having a PPC platform that can allow you to one-to-one manage ACOS and manage keywords, and you be very kind of like precise in how you can grow the rank is critical. And being able to look at conversion rates, decide on whether you keep running things or switching it off is critical. So having the ability to manage all the way down to the very specific ACOS at key level is critical, and we're seeing a lot of good results with that. And we are looking at historical conversion rates clearly for that business, but we're also looking at category conversion rates, which you're getting out of a Seller Central as well, right? And looking.
That's true, yeah.
And then managing organic conversion rate and PPC conversion rate, right? And always at a high level, you're always trying to make sure that your PPC conversion rate is converting at a higher percentage than your organic. The main reason for that is every sale that's coming from PPC is helping your organic. It's not hurting, right? And so that's a critical kind of piece to understand.
Yeah, definitely. Now, this question here comes in that, they're getting, this is the follow-up question that you focus on clicks or spend. Like in this example, you got 5 clicks, but the cost per click is about $2. Would you keep testing with such high cost per click? High cost per click is relative. You can have 10-cent clicks, but if it converts at 0.5%, that could be an expensive cost per sale. So one way you might want to look at it is revenue per click. So how over a certain time period, how many clicks did you get, divided that into your sales, and then multiply that times your desired ACOS, and that's the max you can spend. Now, it's not necessarily the best way to decide, is that really going to be my bid, but that'll at least tell you if you're on the right page. So,
yeah, customer acquisition cost is critical, right? And understanding what that CAC is important, and that goes into lifetime value, subscriptions. You can go into categories. I mean, clearly the supplement ones, and you can see massively high cost per click. And like, does everyone not know what they're doing, or do they really know what
Right.
they're doing? Right.
Exactly.
So, that's critical in terms of how much you're willing to spend. The other piece I'd say there is, I mean, as long as you're managing to your tacos, if you need to spend more, you can. So you got to manage to your tacos, and on top of that, understanding like, hey, even if it might be a high cost per click, if that's helping your organic rank over time with that paid sale, that's something to factor in as well. So LTV, impact tacos, and how helping you with organic rank are all critical.
Yeah, all good stuff. And at the end of the day, like, if your comfort level isn't there to spend, high cost per click, lower it. Maybe you won't get as many impressions, but if it's a keyword that's expensive and you're not getting a lot of sales out of, maybe it's not worth going after. And you go after longer tail keywords that maybe don't cost quite as much, at least to start off with, and then get some reviews over time. Lewis asks, I have a main proven keyword that generates me the most. Okay, so I like that it's proven. So this isn't just like, oh, I saw there was a lot of, keyword traffic, but this is actually proven, generates most sales conversions during the weekends. My larger competitors raise their bids. How do I compete with that? Should I take a step back to save money? John, any thoughts?
So during the week, as much going to be raise bids. If your competitors are raising their bids on the weekends and there's a number of them doing it, there's a data point there that you've got to consider, right? Do they know something? Are they understanding something that you might not be understanding? Is it, and ultimately, there might be a PPC automation strategy around day parting that's critical, but understanding who your audience is and when they buy is an important factor, right? So if your product is typically something that aligns more with weekends, how can you factor in your budget to focus on getting that sale, right? So if you're seeing a trend from your competitors, I'm not saying follow, but try and understand what is going on there, and then just make a decision based on that. So the other thing that we do see a lot, and probably something to consider, is like, we see in the competitive space cycles around, if you look at a month, there's certain spikes in terms of activities around raising bids, but also layering your pricing strategy of like what pricing and promotions, what are they doing on promotions and pricing? And there's a lot of thought around how do you participate in price and promotions to spike the algorithm in these little short bursts that lead up to an extended run of sales from ranking and PPC and algorithmic performance, right? So trying to get that macro view on like, hey, they're just raising the price on the weekends from a bidding perspective, but what are they doing to their pricing? What is the overall cyclical, view that I can see on a monthly basis? And if you can look at that, you'll start to see some really interesting trends. Oh, these guys are participating in lightning deals in these short bursts, and then they're going into a longer one, or they're dropping their price and then going hard on PPC. Like what is going on? So you might have sophisticated sellers in your niche, and just trying to see some of those macro trends and really understand what they're trying to do there, and then testing it is critical.
Yeah, definitely. It's always worth testing out different things and seeing how they work, and following the competition. And sometimes you just got to just go for it and just try something. All right, Roysh asked, and this is multi-point question here. Should I adjust my bids throughout the day based on how the Amazon bids change throughout the day? So basically day parting. I'm ranking 11th organically for a keyword with a decent search volume, with click share 56%, conversion share 9%. Ooh, that means you're losing some conversion. Should I put that in my exact campaign by adjusting bids throughout the day to keep up, or am I hurting the algorithm? So I would focus here. I know the question seems to be sandwiched into day parting, but it really is I think this question is about like conversion rate, because they're getting a decent share of the clicks, but they're not converting them. They're getting 56% share of clicks, but they're only getting 9% share of conversions. So what would you think about a situation like that, and what advice would you give?
Yeah, I think look at your category conversion rates. Look at your overall historical conversion rates, organic and PPC, and then the answer might be like, hey, yes, I'm getting the click. Is it, of that 56% share, is it's clearly relevant, but is my product delivering on that promise? And there may be some pretty easy updates that you might need to do to your product to help with that conversion, right? Might be position of keywords, it might be imagery, overlays, etc. So certainly creative ways to improve your conversion rate is critical. One thing that I always recommend, which is super manual, but just sometimes as owners, we don't see the forest from the trees, and just getting some outside opinion on your buyer journey can give you some massive insight into making some changes that can get your conversion rate up. And you can do it with obviously a bunch of tools, A/B testing, etc., or just getting polls. But you can just get like 2 friends or your target audience to say, hey, go and buy my product on Amazon, and record your buyer process thinking. And I guarantee you'll find some optimization opportunities on conversion rate. So I would do that. Day parting is critical. Understanding, should you keep going there on your tacos, and how much you're willing to spend. Those are all really important pieces, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I like what you said about maybe doing polls out there, like we like PickFu, for example, and non-related to Amazon, but still related to getting feedback from buyers. Is we did a test of the My Amazon Guy homepage, and one was with Steven, and one was instead with like Amazon boxes and like a graph. So we would think intuitively like, okay, people want to see people. The box won, and some of the comments were absolutely brutal. In fact, Steven talked about it on his LinkedIn. So if you want to,
a
week ago,
get that outside perspective. Like we made one, we did just a simple Loom recording that one target audience did on a product, which was a pull-up bar that attached to the wall. And out of that thing, we realized that there was a certain dimension missing between the screws, which was critical, because you're like, well, how do I actually put this into the studs, and do I have enough of a gap? And none of the listings had that. They added that dimension, and their conversion rate went up like 15% or like 15 points or whatever it was. It was crazy. So the simple insights like that is really important.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, what do the customers need to know? And just because everyone else has kind of copied each other's listings and what they share doesn't necessarily mean that is what it has to be. What are the customers asking? And I think Rufus is going to start kind of over time opening that up to like when people are trying to figure out like, okay, this product does this product, the benefit is that. So if Rufus doesn't have that information on your product, then it's kind of guessing. Because I think people are going to ask it more questions like that.
For sure. And what is AI training on right now, right? Whose stock's going up the most in that? Reddit. Because Reddit is basically a community conversation around opinions, what I need, what do you want, etc. Right? So Rufus is going to be training a lot on Q&A and reviews. We actually have we were the first to kind of do an AI word cloud assimilation of reviews on Amazon, taking all the reviews for product category and then simulating, hey, what do people love about a product? What do people hate about a product? It's called love hate. But that understanding, that kind of information is for sure going into and will continue to go into Rufus, understanding the community, because if it doesn't analyze the community response, shopping behavior and reviews and Q&A best, then it's not going to be able to recommend, things like, hey, what do I look for in a pull-up bar? What are the important criteria? Dimensions between screws, blah, blah, blah. If people are talking about that, it's going to surface that for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. So Amit asks, how to remove unauthorized seller on my listing if I'm the brand owner. When I try to report it, Amazon asks me first to buy the product, but reseller delivery is a few weeks out. Any other route? Oh, that's always fun when the reseller is a few weeks out. Now, I have an opinion, but I'll let John chime in if he has one here.
Yeah, clearly Amazon has always focused on fake reviews that enhance the product, but you have those bad actors that are giving you bad reviews, or obviously reselling your product when you shouldn't. Brand registry is there for you to handle that. If you're not getting the answers that you need, we rely on specialists, companies and services out there that know exactly how to navigate the complicated web of Amazon support, and get answers very quickly and get things solved. And then there's also some technologies out there as well that can help on certainly on reviews and at least telling you, hey, how do you actually respond in the right way so that Amazon takes action, right? So and the short answer of all of that is like Amazon is incentivized. There are real people in customer support that are there to solve and make the customer experience at the end of the day better.
Right.
It could be removing unauthorized sellers. So if you're not getting the right answers, just keep hammering, or at least find how you should approach it differently. But if you keep asking the question, they are incentivized to solve it and get it off of their plate. So they're gonna solve it eventually.
Yeah, exactly. This will get solved eventually. Now, what I would say, kind of reading between the lines here, is it says the reseller, the delivery is a few weeks out. They're not getting the buy box. And nobody's going to say, I'm going to skip buying from, the product that's, if I'm assuming their main offer is FBA, something that's going to get to them in a day or two or whatever, versus a product that's going to ship in, a few weeks. So buy the product, go through the rigmarole that Amazon's looking for you to do, but just know your worst case scenario, they're just there. They're just a parasite. But they're not really going to hurt you. Because Amazon doesn't give the buy box to those type of offers. They'll let them kind of stay there, but I can't imagine it hurting in the long run. All right. Oh, and then also too, like if they have like 5 units, just buy the 5 units and be done with it. Sometimes it's worth it just to, maybe somebody bought some in like a liquidation or something. I don't know. And they legitimately have them. Who knows? All right. Katarina asks, hello from Germany. I'm launching a new product, new brand in about a month. Congratulations. In the category gifts, spices, seasonings. Would you start PPC targeting Christmas gift related keywords already in October? What are your thoughts on seasonal keywords, John?
My short answer is no. That early on, so yes, the typical seasonal buy journey is there's a lot of research that happens on Amazon before they are ready to buy, right? And so a couple of notes there, but clearly, understanding that there is going to be more research and conversion rate does go down, but that doesn't mean pull back. It actually means like accelerate and build up. The big sellers there before big seasonal days, they are pedal to the metal, pushing, spending, and setting themselves up for a massive day. And that's just about being at the top of the algorithm. So you've got to spend and manage your conversion rates differently to other parts of the season. But if you're just launching a product, you've got to focus on your keywords that are going to give you the best conversion rate, because Amazon is giving you a chance. It's going to put you out there, and if you convert on specific keywords, it's going to start saying, hey, this is a great product that our customers are looking for, so let's give them more airtime, right? So you've really got to focus your launch strategy around conversion rates, and then something as generic as best Christmas gift is not going to work, and that's going to come later on, right? So yes, you should be adding seasonal, generally a solid probably month, I would say, or a little bit longer than that before the main season hits. But if you're just launching a product, focus on your main converting keywords first.
Yeah, definitely. And the Christmas season is not going to be too far behind that. So, but at least get some initial sales. But I wouldn't go after the word Christmas gift. I'll just say that. Sometimes the things you think, oh, there'll be a lot of, when people don't know what they're looking for, especially at the beginning of a season, something like Christmas gift, you might as well just say, widget. It's just they're very top of funnel. They're doing some exploring. You're probably not going to make money on it, especially unless it's like the hot Christmas gift that everybody's buying this season. I don't even know what that is this year.
Yeah, and while we do internally at with our services side is Keywords on Fire is our keyword intelligence tool, which does the best in the marketplace of finding the localized contextual keywords for that period, right? So we typically, before a big seasonal period, we'll start running Keywords on Fire sessions to see, hey, what are the actual keywords that customers are typing into Amazon, which we'll start to integrate seasonal. So don't just rely on seasonal words that you had last year. That's a good baseline, but actually run it based on what you're seeing right now. And you'll be very surprised about how much your seasonal keyword subset changes year over year, right? So understanding the latest, greatest, and knowing that gives you a competitive advantage over your other competitors who haven't looked at the current style of searching for those type of products. And certainly with AI and how people are doing it, there's much more research heavy keywords than there were before, longer tail, things that you all see there that you just haven't seen before. So I encourage you, for whatever keyword intelligence, don't just rely on what you're having year over year for your seasonal. Run some new, fresh,
the words people use change over time, trends change. That's a very good point. All right. So Jason asks, how do I rank higher in a keyword carousel? I don't know that I've heard this phrase before. It doesn't seem to be tied to my bid for the same keyword, e.g. customers frequently viewed, trending styles, 4 stars and above. It's talking about like down below, like, on the left side, like you can click.
I'm not sure, actually. Yeah, sorry. I don't know what a keyword
carousel is. Or maybe it's by keyword carousel. He's talking about like, like on the search results page, you sometimes will see like, 4 stars and above, or they keep changing. It depends on the category. Some of the headings where it's like there are a few different products, and I think sometimes you can scroll back and forth.
Or sponsored brands, maybe, which kind of can happen in the carousel. Maybe that's what he's talking about, sponsored brand ads. But
yeah, exactly. I'm not 100% sure. So, and if it's what I'm thinking of, I don't know, 4 stars and above, have 4 stars and above. I don't know. So some of those, they're hard to say. So, just get the click and get the conversion. That's the best way to do it. And then everything else kind of starts to fall into place. And then we got time for one more question. We'll do real quick. Today, let's do this one. So today impressions are low on keywords that I do well on, and I'm not far from the suggested bid. Is it just slow today, or does this mean I have to increase my bid above suggested bid?
Yeah, tricky one. I think maybe another note here is like where we've seen success with PPC specifically, or just in general ranking campaigns, is patient, consistent action, right? Yep. And I think that the word of patience, and I put it first for a very good reason, is that's how you ingesting the data. Today, hey, I see some low impressions, but what does that look like in the macro view of what's happening in my category, which I need more data on, and then taking intelligent action around that in a consistent way and in a patient way is critical, right? And we see it, if you separate the data engineering business from the services side of having clients, every services side has those clients which are like super reactionary, like, hey, great, we've got to change our bids right now. We have to drop this. Hey, these guys came in, change that. And if you do that, you're left with a lack of performance in everything. And so it's going back to what I said right in the beginning, shiny object syndrome, right? And that impulse where you're like, I need to take action, versus like, hey, what is my strategy? Where am I going? And what is the data saying? And do I have enough data to make a decision? Those are really critical things that you have to make sure you cover before you take it. So
I love that. There's, the concept of data sufficiency, and I love that you said patience. You can never make a decision at noon as to like, how well the day is going. Sometimes you kind of know, but like sometimes Amazon's its reporting servers or whatever are just behind. Sometimes it's just a slow day. Why one day is slower than the other? No one knows. You would think like, oh, okay, well, Tuesdays are always really good days or whatever. And sometimes they're horrible. And it's like, you don't know. Like last Friday for me was really slow. Friday before was better than usual. So it's like, sometimes there's no rhyme or reason, and you have to look at trends over time and not just like small data points, which, a day or even sometimes a week is a small data point. Cool.
100%, yeah. And it's, this has been from day one with Zonguru, right? Which is that the marketing saying GIGO, garbage in, garbage out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that applies to AI, it applies to your Amazon business, and it applies to this idea of too much data without understanding what is the main thing that I should be looking at from a data perspective that should drive my business decision, right? So taking, when you see these things, and there can be shiny objects or data points, hey, if I don't know what I should be doing, let's take a step back and think about the overall strategy of my business. What are the key data points that I need to make a decision? And that can be helpful in getting you out of the nitty gritty and focusing on the overall vision of what you're trying to do, which could be, hey, I'm wanting to rank better organically or get my sales up or be more efficient on my PPC, whatever that is. So always bubbling up to what is the overall objective for my business. It can help clear the way for you.
Awesome. Now, if folks want to learn more or follow you, where should they go?
Hey, I'm sure you'll drop it in here, but LinkedIn, you can get me there. Zonguru, zonguru.com. There's 3 different audiences that we service. Everything from signing up for our technology as a seller, or signing up for our technology as an agency. And there's links there that you can connect with us. And if you're interested in adding on the service layer to our technology, you can certainly connect with us there. You have to qualify for that, so we'll go through that process with you. But helping you grow is an option as well. So there's 3 different ways there, or we've got customer support. Anything you want there, just engage with us, and send in my LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Yeah, definitely follow John Tilley on LinkedIn. And with that, appreciate everybody for being here. And thank you, John, for sharing your knowledge.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks.